When you're taking a holiday or you're taking a break, there's always one fundamental mistake that most people make when they design it. See, breaks don't just happen. They are actually designed if you want to do it properly. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how to design your breaks properly in the next year or in the future so that you can better prepare and have the appropriate break that you need. Hey there, it's Laurence Tham here, your chiro coach. Today, I'm going to talk about, taking holidays. One of my favorite topics because it's such an important element. Here's why. Most people, come to the, an end of a year or an end of a particular session, maybe a quarter. They go, oh man, I'm burnt out. And you know what? Yeah, it's been a tough couple of years when it comes to the amount of stresses that people are experiencing with, ongoing lockdowns and restrictions and not knowing what's actually happening in the next year or even the next quarter or the next month sometimes. And that constant fear around the media and the constant fear in the public and the community, it's taxing. It grinds on you, right? And I'm sure you know that. I don't need to explain that to anybody. And it's happening all around the world, no matter where you are. And the challenge, of course, is that it is this during these types of times and not knowing what's going to happen in the next quarter, in the next month, or even the next year. And it's hard to plan for that. And so what do you need to do? I think it's the same rule applies. I've been, talking to my clients about this for years now, where I say, you need to design your breaks. You need to design, having breaks from your normal routine. And I'll be the first one to admit, in the last 6 months, I've been locked down and here in Sydney and haven't been able to do much because of the certain restrictions. But I could either, take that 6 months and go, you know what, it sucks, and, and just be angry about it. Or I design it within the game that I'm placed in, because there are certain restrictions and you work and function within the framework that you actually have. And so you can design a game within a game. And so therefore, for me, for example, over those months of restrictions is thinking about, what can I do in the area that I actually have that will give me for example, I crave variety. Some of I travel around the world for 5-6 times a year. And so how do you get that variety when you can't even leave your local government area? Well, there's tons of local areas that I have never even been to. Can I explore those? And there are tons of maybe restaurants or takeaway places, or maybe different beaches that I haven't been to or never really tried because it's local. And so therefore, you just gotta, does it suck? Is it restrictive? Yeah, of course it is, but there's nothing I can do about that. So therefore it's what can you do within those confines? So use that as an example. That's an extreme example, but think about it for the next year. If you are burnt out, usually it's because you didn't actually take the most appropriate time or design to help you do that. Now, this past year can be an excuse, and I get it. I'm the same way. I just haven't taken the break that I necessarily needed. And I've learned that lesson. For years, I've been telling people that you need to design, 3 to 4 breaks a year. And I broke my rule this year. And yeah, I can use the excuse of things happening and, all these restrictions, not knowing. Yeah, and I've used that excuse. But reality, I look back in the year and I go, you know what? I screwed up. I didn't really take the appropriate break, and I'm paying the price right now. And so this is why I want to shoot this video, because I want you not to follow my footsteps in that sense. I don't want you to feel the way I felt right now. And so what I need to do is that I need to go now and plan, and make sure that no matter what happens in the next year, I'm going to schedule those breaks in between. Because the thing is by the time you feel like you need a break, it's already too late, right? And so therefore what we got to do is plan them ahead. For me, when I was in practice, for sure, I was every 3 months, I would take a break. And I'll talk to you about how to navigate that. But most importantly, is take a break. Now, break doesn't have to mean that you have to go to Bali and have to go to the States or go to Europe or wherever you got to fly. It doesn't have to be a break. It's just a break. A break from your normal routine, a break from your practice, a break from your business, so you can recharge and reset. A break should be utilized to recharge physically, emotionally. Chiropractic is a very physical, taxing job, and it's also a very emotional job because you're taking on a lot of emotions. You got to learn to figure out how to, manage all of that. And so the challenge, of course, is that how do you do that? And you need to kind of schedule that in. Scheduling the breaks before you need them is the best way to prevent that. You guys are in practice all the time, and when you're actually in practice, do you not tell your patients to come in, get adjusted before things happen? Well, same thing with yourself, is that you got to be preventative, and how you be preventative is actually start to schedule them in. And when you start to schedule things in, it will change the landscape of how you operate, and you recharge, and you're going to have this extra energy that you probably never even realized. And then also it allows you to reset your goals and your targets. And you also have a deadline of 3 months of going like, I'm going to get this accomplished before I go away. Because once you have a deadline, you actually start to get things done. But if your deadline's still not to the next year or at the end of the year, it's too late. And how many times, the amount of chiropractors that I've actually coached or even talked to that haven't taken a break in a year or even 3 years or 5 years are staggering. I don't understand that. Now that I kind of been coaching a few times and coaching, all these people, and I can kind of see the narrative, and the narrative that keeps on coming up, it's fear, right? Think about that for a second. What are you afraid of? And I guarantee everybody's afraid of, what are they afraid of? They're afraid of that the practice is going to dive, like it's going to come crashing down to zero or something. And the other fear is that people are going to leave and they're not going to come back. These are irrational fears if you really think about it. I mean, come on. Like, I get the practice may dip a little bit, right? And that's an opportunity to that's possible, but it's not going to go to 50%, right? If you've done your job right. And that's the key right there. If you're afraid that there's going to be a dip and you never take a break, you're just hanging on. And how long is it going to be where the point of where your body just goes, you know what? I'm going to force you to take a break. And that happens, right? Physically, you get hurt, or emotionally, you just like crash because you can't take it anymore. And you're not at your best. And when you're not at your best, you're not serving your clients the best. And so we got to start rationally thinking about what is actually happening. And if you're worried about it, I think the focus should be in your mind is, okay, what are all the things I need to do to ensure that the patients are not going to leave when I do have a holiday? Well, shouldn't that be a project? Shouldn't that be a part of your process and goal setting? Instead of aiming for a particular number all the time, shouldn't you be thinking about, like, what can I do to ensure that my patients are going to stick around? Well, one of the ways, like if you ask that question, if you actually sat down and wrote all the things, there's going to be things like, maybe I should learn to communicate better. Maybe I should actually talk about, chiropractic as a lifestyle. Maybe I should stop just treating acute pain and actually start taking care of people as the chiropractic lifestyle, that chiropractic is part of, like exercise or eating a good diet. Maybe it's my systems in terms of recalls and reactivation and making sure that people stay on schedule. Maybe I should schedule properly instead of just, scheduling one at a time. There's so many things you could be focused on to doing for the purpose of making sure people stick around and people stay when you're in practice because they actually get some benefit and results from what you offer, and right, that you can also have the confidence to be able to go away and know that you can be the best version of yourself to serve your clients. And then therefore your business continues to grow. That is the actual success for practice growth. Hanging on by a thread is not the way to go. If you look at all successful chiropractors, okay, across the board, no matter what technique, no matter what style, no matter what philosophy, right? The chiropractors who do this well, who make it work in terms of business and also their patients and getting results for them, are usually the one who are consistently taking regular breaks and they're not burnt out. How many successful chiropractors do you know that are burnt out? Right? I haven't seen it, but maybe there is a few, but do you want to be like that? Do you really want to be burnt out right to the end and still serving clients because that's the thing you're supposed to do? Or do you want to live this life to really more get, what are we doing here as a chiropractor? Are we not serving clients? Of course we are. But you're also living your life, aren't you? And your life is about freedom to be able to do the things you actually designed to do, or what you want to do, which is, be with your family and serve them and, raise kids or whatever you're doing. Like, everybody has their own freedom. But the ultimate thing is that you need to design your life to create that, right? You have an opportunity to create that and start focusing on asking the question, how do I do that? Rather than, right, being so burnt out, I'm like, oh my God, I need a holiday. If you ever feel that way, it's too late. You're way too late into the game. You got to think differently. And this is the reason why I'm doing it this time around, around this time of year, is because you have an opportunity here. Another year's gone by. You have a choice to continue to relive this feeling again and again and again, or you have a choice to design it in a way that's completely different. That choice is yours. That's your freedom. Your freedom is like, I do not want to live like this again. I do not want to have another year like this again. If you don't want that, do something about it. And the only way that you can do something about it is actually make the changes and design it and ask the right questions. Stop going after the same goals freaking every year, for the same goals every single year and never getting there. What's the point of doing that, right? Maybe you need to rethink things. Maybe you need a different perspective. Right? If you need help with that, give me a call, give a shout, send me an email, message me, and let's talk about possibly how we can change that. Change perspective. If you don't have a different perspective, you're going to go after the same thing over and over again, and your life is going to be exactly the same. And then, you know what? Regret is what you're going to be left with 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Don't live with regret. Do something about it. Create something new. Design, 4 holidays over the next year. Design it. It doesn't have to be, could be a weekend away. Just put it in there. Put it in the calendar. Pencil it in. Tell your wife, tell your husband, tell your friends, this is what we're going to do. And then make it happen. And then you'll figure everything out. Once you've done that, you block it in, and then you figure out how to make that work. Otherwise, it'll never happen because it's just something you leave last minute. And by the time next year comes around, at Christmas time, you're like, oh crap, I should have probably taken a holiday. Just something to think about. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great holiday. Enjoy your time off. You deserve it. Please take the time to rest and recover. And let's start next year in an amazing, full of energy, with greater goals, with greater plans, and greater perspective.